This call is being recorded.
Welcome to a winning cup, you guys. I have Shane with me, and I'm going to Miss Shane take it away and start sharing her story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Andress. I am the host of the podcast, You Got This, The Journey. I went through a pretty challenging past year, just like the rest of us, where I newly was experiencing really bad anxiety attacks, and it led into a depression that I was not ready for. And since I had never gone through mental health issues before, I had no idea what was happening to me. So I lived in denial for a very long time and was just trying to self cope and deal with everything that was happening. And eventually, it just got to a point where I didn't see a point in waking up every day and, um, like getting up and doing what I wanted to do and be with the ones around me. And I was unmotivated. I lacked passion and purpose in my life. And I was sad and I was negatively impacting those around me. And I wasn't there for the people that I love most. So I decided to make a change and go to therapy and seek professional help. And I was able to learn how to deal with my anxiety and get through that dark place I was in. And I'm now on a journey to get even better, to become happier and healthier and inspire others, because I know a lot of us are struggling and I don't want anybody to feel like they're alone. So my mission now in life is to help anybody out there who is in the same boat I was, where you don't know what your purpose is or you don't have passion in your life. So that's me. And Wynn, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Well, I think a lot of people feel the same way you do. I mean, we as a human society got so unmotivated because we we I say the world population got locked in place, number one, got our freedoms taken away, number two, and then all of us went from work to home, work to home, work to home, and did all that. And so I applaud you for saying I've got to change something there because a lot of people were. I read a study. They said alcohol use has gone up, drug use has gone up, and mental health crises have gone up because of um, what us as a human society experience. And so I applaud you for going in and saying, look, I've got to change something.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really hard. I actually it's kind of funny that I started a podcast, because when I first started, I didn't tell a single person. I was so ashamed that it had gotten so bad that I needed to go and see a therapist, and I didn't want anyone to know. And now I'm like, I want everybody to know. I want everybody to know that therapy is a-okay. And if that's what you need to get through this hard time that, like you said, we're all going through, then you do that. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
No, I strongly believe in mental health. I've been seeing a counselor for over 2 years now, and I strongly believe in mental health. I didn't go, well, I did. I did go kicking and screaming just because of the stigma around it. I'm like, oh boy, Wynn needs mental health now? Just because of the stigma around it. And then I had someone witness the whole conversation that went that got me into mental health. And she goes, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is what you need to do. And I'm going to help you do it. And if it wasn't for her, I'm like, I would still be kicking, screaming about mental health because there's such a huge stigma around mental health. And those of us who are in the thick of it have got to break the stigma of mental health.
Yeah, and I think a big issue with it too is that we do too much comparison where we think, okay, my struggle isn't bad enough. I'm able to work from home, I'm healthy, my family's still here. I don't have anything to be anxious about. And we don't give ourselves the right to acknowledge the feelings that we're going through because we constantly are telling ourselves that it's not nearly that bad where I need to get to that level. And I also think people have this fear of what's going to happen when they go to see somebody. Like, are they going to be prescribed medication for the rest of their life? Are they not going to be? Are they going to be diagnosed with something that they never expected? That unknown of what could come out of therapy, I think, is what holds so many people back from actually going to therapy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And now, granted, you guys know this. I lost my dad at age 30, age 33, and I was emotionally and physically abused 1 month after he died, and still was going to therapy because of grief counseling. Now I'm slowly transitioning out of therapy only because I've transferred states, and I'm still, I'll admit to you guys right now, once I'm fully transferred down there, I will still go see a therapist. I will still go see a therapist. That is on the radar tenfold because I believe in mental health. I believe in my own mental health. I believe in my sanity. And a friend and a family member can only do so much. And I got myself out of a position where I was mentally and physically abused, and not by my chosen family, mind you, not by my aid, mind you, which is quite common in a disabled world. I got emotionally abused by my own biological family member, and yep, a woman, which is highly uncommon. Usually men do it, and so I got myself out of that position, and I'm slowly but surely getting myself to the next level. I needed to take time to heal my own psyche and start living my life and not be controlled by others. But through mental health, I was going to say that through mental health, I was going to say that it is not a big stigma. You guys and us as a human society make it a big stigma. It is not.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when I just think you're so brave, and I thank you so much for sharing that because I think it could help so many people out there. And you're right. We are making it this scary thing that people don't want to talk about. So the more we have conversations like we're doing today, the more comfortable people will get. I went through something similar to you. I started therapy, and then I moved and I had to change therapists. And if I could give you any tip, I would say as soon as you can find a new therapist, do it, because I took too long of a break from therapy, like continuing to wait until I was fully settled, until I fully felt right. And I think I took a little too long. So as soon as you can get back to it, I think that'd be
No,
great.
no. And that's my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to find a therapist down here. And yes, telehealth is great, but yes, seeing a therapist in person is great. But due to the lockdown and due to everything, the world is slowly but surely opening back up. But I think that mental health has gone up. I shouldn't say I think, I know, because I've done studies where, as I told you, that the alcohol use and the mental health crisis have gone up. So that being said, what has been your biggest lesson during the pandemic?
I think that, a lot of bad things happened this year. This year is a time that I don't think any of us are going to look at as like the best year of our life, right? But it made me realize that before the pandemic, I was taking no time for myself. I was not practicing self care. I did not have a work life balance. And going through this time of working from home and quite honestly getting to a point of burnout and getting to this place, where I was experiencing these new issues with my mental health, it proved to me the importance of taking that time for yourself and disconnecting from work, from social media, from TV, and taking time for ourselves. So I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned this year.
So self care, basically self care.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people have learned self care. I certainly learned how to do self care. I'm barely working on this podcast. I need to heal my own body and I need to heal my own soul. And I need to not be on my phone as much. And I think we all need to eliminate the phone calls and eliminate the technology and just be around the people that love us and support us. And even though I have people that love me and support me all over the planet, and they like a phone call every once in a while, um, I just think sitting and talking to friends. I don't care if you have a mask on. I don't care if you social distancing. I don't care what you were doing. I don't care even if it's over technology. Just sitting and talking to friends about mindless stuff. Mindless stuff. It doesn't have to be work related. It doesn't have to be boyfriend related. It doesn't have to be life related. It can be about your favorite song. It can be about singing. It can be about mindless stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel this way, but since I started the podcast, I feel like I'm on Clubhouse so much, I'm on social media so much, like I actually have to find that time in the day to just sit and talk to the people I love the most, which shouldn't even be something that you have to make time for, but so often we get so busy with like social media and all these different things that we have to do that's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to call my mom."
I agree. I agree. I agree. And my life has taken a turn for the better, and as of March 19th, but I didn't get my own house back until May 20th. I'm like, okay, this whole thing, when living independently, is great, but give me my house back. Give me my house back. So at the same time, we gotta sit by ourselves and somehow communicate with friends about mindless stuff.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like I love how you say mindless because like so often we're either networking and promoting ourselves or we're talking about COVID, we're talking about the news. Like just have a silly conversation that makes you laugh. Just find the time to smile and forget all the BS out there.
Yeah. So it's it's a time to smile and it's a time to be grateful for life and forget about the drama. I have drama going on, but it's where I'm now and as compared to the drama, I would rather leave the drama at the door because I just feel like it's life is too short
Yeah.
and just um talk to that friend about the chocolate chip cookies you like. Talk to a friend about the birthday cake you're planning to have. talk to the friend about do a virtual cooking class. There we go. With a friend. Do a virtual FaceTime. Do something. Just don't talk about the news, COVID, or networking.
Yes, I 100% agree. I cannot say that enough. I you know, I'm sorry. Can I just shut the door real quick? I'm sorry. I think my animal must have propped it open. Okay, sorry about that. But it's something else too that you brought up is like you have to practice gratitude, be grateful for even in a time when it feels like there's nothing to be grateful for. Find the things that you're lucky to have because we've learned life is too short. And you can either sit and dwell on what's happening or you can find the good, make it an effort to find the good somehow and bring joy to your life every day.
So that being said, if you had to transplant your brain into someone else's body, who would it be and why? And yes, I could be dead or alive.
Okay, so this is really hard. I thought of like a couple of people, and when you think of dead or alive, it's like, who would I want? But mine would be Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy because I went to school for theater and my professors all told me like, if you're going to be an actress out there, it's going to be Lucille Ball. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love her." And she cracks me up. That show, every time I see the chocolate episode, the wine episode, the Vita Vegemin or whatever it is, I love it. And I would love to live her life and just be on that show. And I don't know, it just seems like she had so much joy and so much laughter.
And so if you had to channel a person for a week, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Shadow them.
Yes.
I would choose Luke Bryan, which I know might sound crazy, but he is somebody who has experienced honestly, maybe some of the most loss that I've ever heard of in his family and his personal life. And he has made an effort to find good, save people, and help people who are struggling in this world. And I admire that mindset of people who can go through such loss and such tragedy and still be such a positive inspiration. So I would love to just shadow him and see like, how is this guy living his life every day? And what does he tell himself when he wakes up?
What is your favorite episode you have done of your podcast?
Ooh, my favorite. I would have to say breaking down anxiety and depression with Dr. Lauren Cook, because even though I'm somebody who dealt with both of those mental illnesses, she taught me so much about them and gave me so many different tips and tricks that I can implement in my life. And she was I mean, she's so smart, but she was so articulate with describing everything, and it was just a very, very interesting episode that I've continued to listen to even after sharing it.
And what is one episode that the team over here should tune into?
What episode should you tune into? Well, I would it would be between the one with Dr. Lauren Cook or my intro episode, because my intro episode, it really goes into further detail of what it was that I went through this past year during the pandemic. And truly, I'm going to say that that's the one that everybody should listen to, because I think that so many of us went through that exact feeling that I was going through. And I know there's people out there who haven't given themselves grace yet, and they haven't given themselves the right to go get help yet. So if I can be the voice that shares that story and you can hear what's happening, then I want to be that person that can help show you it's okay to get help.
Yes. And also, guys, if I can be the voice too, and I have cerebral palsy, so people keep teasing me. They're like, when you have a right to ask for help, you have a neurological condition. What is this with you not asking for help? you trying to be independent and you trying to do all this stuff and run million miles a minute. And I'm like, so I have a disability, but yes, I need help. I've finally gotten to the point, you guys, where I have accepted the word help in my life, which took me what? It's going to be 12 years in August that my mom passed away. So, and granted, I have a bunch of adopted mommies, but I've been talking about my biological mom. And so it's taken me 12 years to accept the words help and semi-assisted living home. And because I remember saying to a friend of mine, I will not leave my own house. I will be here until the day I die. I will do all this. And she wrote it down. And then we moved on. And if you would have told me 2 years later, after I said that statement, I would be living on my own in Phoenix, Arizona, I would have said, you're nuts. I would have said, you're nuts. And so, but I got given this amazing opportunity, and I took them all and ran with it. But that being said, if I can be the voice of reason for you guys to stop what you're planning to do, and I won't mention a word, stop what you're planning to do, let's put it that way, that can help.
Yeah, I mean, when every time I hear you speak in Clubhouse and even just this conversation with you right now, I mean, you are such an inspiration to me. So I already know that you are that voice for everybody out there.
Hopefully, I am.
You
The
are.
my my good friend of mine said, when you're going to be the voice for the voiceless? Well, the voice for the voiceless, I didn't realize when she said that to me that the voice for the voiceless would ring true. But I want to know where people can find you and where people can listen to your podcast. I'm presuming it's on all audio platforms.
Yeah, so it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. I pretty much everywhere I could post it on Buzzsprout. I just hit post, 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 post.
Yeah.
So, so if people go to my Instagram page, it's at you got this underscore the journey. I have a link in there where you can find all the different places to listen to the podcast, and I post a bunch of audiograms and Zoom clips from the interviews. So it's a good place to stay up to date.
Yeah. And then where can people find you personally if they want to contact you?
So I do everything through my You Got This The Journey page. I
Okay.
kind of stopped using my personal account altogether because I don't know if you've experienced this too, but like my personal account, I just was following everybody. It was just to post about my life. So I was following a lot of negative things and like didn't really care. And now You Got This The Journey is so centered around this new lifestyle that I'm trying to live that it's really where I spend, I would say like 100% of my social media time.
Okay. Well, you guys, you got this. The journey. That's where we're headed towards. And now, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So I haven't even, heard your whole story. I mean, I know that we've met through Clubhouse, but what made you start a podcast?
Well, it made I was writing a book at the time, I Comma Win, and I was getting to the point of publishing the book. And I thought, okay, somehow a podcaster told me I needed to market the book. Well, I'm like, great, now once I hit the publishing button, I can say that I'm a published author, but I can't figure out how to market the book. Well, I thought, well, maybe I'll just type in to iTunes at the time how I wanted to type in cerebral palsy. I tell you, there was nothing on cerebral palsy. I'm like, bingo, that's my niche. But I decided to do it a little bit differently. I decided to interview people like you and just infuse my story with the interview.
That's awesome. That's all. I mean, I love it. And that's incredible. I mean, were you nervous to get on and have to speak to people?
I was nervous. I tell you, how to get over a speech impediment really, really quickly and how to face your fears with cerebral palsy. Do a podcast and produce a week, twice a week, and do everything you can. But yeah, how to get over. And I didn't know about my condition until 2020. I didn't know about my condition until 2019. I was diagnosed with my condition in 87. I did not know the whole complexities of my diagnosis until 2019, latest 2020. Because I was always told, well, it's a bone and joint condition. It's a bone and joint condition. So I knew something was wrong at the age of 6. When earlier than that, I actually knew something was wrong earlier than that. And so I didn't want to ask my parents, could you really explain to me what's going on? So after my emotional abuse, I got depressed because of I needed help. I needed help on a daily basis, getting dressed, showering, and I wasn't motivated. And so I finally put the bravery stick up and asked a physical therapist slash a PT student. I go, well, I've heard the term cerebral palsy associated with bone and joint. Is it a bone and joint condition or is it a neurological condition? They both looked at me and they go, when you have a neurological condition, did you not know that? And I walked away from that physical therapy appointment and I called a good friend when I got home and who knew the whole situation. And I said, I found out something that I want to discuss with you. And this was in the middle of day 2. And so I'm like, oh, she's like, okay. And I'm like, did you know this? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, you didn't tell me, did you? And she goes, I thought people had told you. And I'm like, no, they never told me. They said, you have a CP. They made me Google it. They made me think it's a bone and joint condition. They never said the words, your brain is screwed up enough that you have a neurological condition.
Wow. I mean, were you angry? I would have been so angry knowing that my whole life I didn't know what it was that I was living with.
Was I angry? Well, I was angry at the emotional and physical abuse, but was I angry at the cerebral palsy? No, because I made it my gift. I made it my gift, and I made it my ultimate challenge to live on my own. And you guys don't know this, but the day I found out, I thought, okay, I'm going to live on my own. With support. I didn't realize that I was going to be moving. Well, I knew I was going to be moving states, but I didn't realize to where. And I met with a cautious record reader slash psychic mediums, and I said to this cautious record reader, I said, "Well, where am I going to be living?" Because at the time I was going to be, I was in the process of selling my house. And she goes, "The universe has your back. It's going to surprise. It's going to surprise you." And I'm like, okay. So I made one plan. That plan did not work out, and I was open to all possibilities. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to be homeless. Slash, I don't want to live in the area that I was living, Aspen, Colorado. Aspen, Colorado, not handicapped, accessible. Slash, the cost of living up there is ridiculous. Um, and so I'm like, okay, I'm open to all possibilities. So on March 19th, and you guys know this, I I packed my vehicle, my handicapped accessible van, and I took off at 5 a.m. with a power wheelchair, a minivan, and a duffel bag, and a assistant that I barely knew. And I'm like, do something that scares you. And I'm like, let's do this. And by the time we got to Grand Junction, Colorado, which is near Utah, I didn't. When my assistant goes, "I'm stopping to get coffee. Would you like any?" I didn't, and I don't drink coffee anyway. So I didn't realize what day it was. I I didn't realize what was actually going on. All I knew was I was moving March 9th. All I knew was I was moving March 19th. And that's all I knew. And so here the dumb I was that said, well, whose vehicle is blocking the bottom of my driveway? And because my vehicle was blocking the bottom of my driveway. So I'm like, okay, it's my vehicle. We're getting in my vehicle and going somewhere. It didn't click in my brain until the sun came up. It didn't click in my brain that I was actually doing this. I'm like, oops. Been a little bit more prepared for this move, and then it all worked out at the end. And I said to you guys, I said I will land on my feet, and I don't know where, but I will land on my feet. And you guys knew I was moving, and then I fall off planet for months, and then I only picked up the podcast in the end of April, the beginning of May, just because I had logistical stuff going on. But I realized, talk about do something that scares you. Move 2 states in a pandemic, and yeah, with someone who barely knows you. Yeah. So I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I'm always the adventure seeker. I'm always the let's try out the next best thing for my health. Let's try out the next best thing for cerebral palsy. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's amazing. Like you fully trusted the universe and just went in. I think too many people, they wait and they're like, "Oh, I'll do it once I have the house secured or once I know what I'm going to be doing." You were like, "Peace out. Here I go."
Peace, peace out. I knew I had a house. Peace out. I knew I had a house at the other end. I I bought this house. I'm now renting this house. I bought it sight unseen. I wasn't and I wasn't on the premises at the time when this purchase was made. And
Wow.
like, okay, that's scary. Seeing, seeing the house that you're going to live in by a video, by a person that you really trust. And I'm like, I put my faith in God, I put my faith in the universe, I put my faith in my team. I'm like, let's do this. But ever since then, ever since March 19th, I've been happy as a clam.
That's awesome. I love that. It all worked out. It's a good thing you did it. Good thing you did what scared you.
Yeah, well, and that would be my advice to you guys. Do something that scares you when the world opens back up, or do something that scares you at the end of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, don't wait for the timing to be perfect because we've all seen that there is no perfect time and
There's
anything can
no perfect
happen.
time. There's no perfect timing. So I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. You got this. The journey can be found on every single platform, as Shannon said. And I want to make one more PSA. Please, 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 please leave a review in Apple Podcast. It helps tremendously. All it does is make the Apple Podcast monster happy because he or she or it gets fed, and so it gets more eyeballs, which hopefully translates into earballs on these podcasts. So if you could leave a review for mine, if you could leave a review for You Got This Journey, that would be great.
Thank you. And I think I'm gonna have to steal that, the monster. I love that because that is spot on.
The monster. Make the monster happy. Feed,
Yeah.
feed the monster. Feed the cookie monster. Feed the monster in Apple Podcast. And then once you make the monster happy, you make all these podcasts happy. And it's not just for us, it's for any podcast you listen to too.
Mhm.
So I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye, you guys.